All right. Good evening, good evening. Hope everyone's doing well. And I hope everyone can hear me. Let's hope. Okay, where are we? There. 1, 2, 3. All right. Testing. Oh, yep, I can hear myself. Perfect. Okay. Got the okay. Take these off. Don't need these. And what else do I want to do? Let's pop this way. Oh, we can close this off. And I just need to promote one more thing and then we are ready to go. All right. Going live. Going live. Okay. Hello. Okay. Oh, good. A few comments in YouTube already. It's a winner. Oh, Drupal CMS. Okay. Annoyingly, I do hear a bit of rattling on my desk when I move things around. Anyway, that's fine. All right. Okay, so I think we are about to get going. Let me just start recording everything. Oh no, I don't record that. And I have to make sure I record the right mic. And we're good to go. Okay. Let's switch over to the main feed. And we can get going. No. What are you? All right. Okay, I think we are good to go. So if you have any questions, chuck them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. All right. Well, let's get into it. So what is views? That's a question I get a lot, especially from new Drupal site builders. And what views is? Views is a query builder. It's probably the best way to explain it. It helps you create lists of content because I always jokingly say that websites have been the same for as long as I can remember. A website just simply lists out a bunch of objects and you can modify those objects, and that's about it. Now, the way we build websites has changed, absolutely. But the fundamental part of a website is still the same. It's a listing of something, and then you can see, you can modify these things on the side, and that is it. So views allows you to query your content. Now, the views module used to be a separate contrib module, but it was moved into Drupal core, probably for Drupal 8, I would say. It's Drupal 7. No, I don't remember, honestly. I'm sure, you could just Google it to find out exactly when it was chucked in. And a lot of things in Drupal are powered by the views module. Okay. So if we go to content, this is powered by views. If we go to media, this media page is powered by views. If you click on people, this people page is controlled by views. Pretty much any page that lists out some type of content, more often than not, is a views page. Now, to manage all of your views, what you can do is you can come to structure, then click on views. And here you can see all of the available views that comes with Drupal. If you scroll right down to the bottom, you will see a few uninstalled ones, but you can enable them. Well, they're not uninstalled, they're technically disabled, but you can enable them. And you do have a lot of admin pages. You have the moderated content, that's a views page. You've got the redirect. See, there you go. You've even got like other modules using it. The redirect page is a views page. You even have the taxonomy term page is a views page. Everything is a views page. Now, I'm going to say views a lot tonight, so apologies for that. But if you want to play along and have a shot every single time I say it, well, you're in for a good night. So tonight, what I want to do is show you how to use the views module to create admin pages, because that's where it really shines. Because views can be used to create maps. It can be used to create slideshows, accordions, FAQs, anything that requires querying content and displaying it whichever way you want, it can be used. But the real power of views, in my opinion, and where I use it a lot, is to create custom backend pages. Because editors like to have nice UIs for managing their content. And that's where I've used views a lot. So here I've got a Drupal CMS site, as you can kind of gather, but everything you learn, you can implement in Drupal core. And I've got two content types, one called project with just a few fields. So you have title, content, tags, project status, which is a vocab. And then we've got tasks. I was going to say tags there. Tasks. And a task has a title, content, tags, and then you reference a project. Then below that you have is complete, which is just like a Boolean field. Is it complete or not? All right, another comment from YouTube. Hi, everyone. Well, hello. It's good to see everyone on YouTube, because last week it's crickets. Maybe paragraph widgets or the video that I was talking about last week wasn't as exciting as views. Let's hope. So yeah, please keep your comments coming. So that's the setup that we have now. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a page that lists out all the projects from the content admin page. So this is often the content overview page, as I like to call it. And when editors log in, or people using your website would log in and they have the ability to see the backend, they'll often see this content page first. Now, I am going to assume you understand a bit of views. This isn't a full getting started with views. I do have a video that's specifically for getting started with views. Head over to the WebWash YouTube channel, click on live, and you should see it somewhere down below. It's been, I think, over a year ago. So just search for getting started with views and they'll give you a nice overview on just using the views module. Now to start things off, let's go ahead and create a page. Now to do that, we can go to Structure, Views, and then click on Add View on the top right. And we'll call this one just Projects. And here you can configure the basic information of the view. All this stuff can be changed later on, so you're not stuck with whatever you have configured here. You can always change it. But you can configure a few things just to kind of get you going. So under View Settings, you define what you want to query. Now under Show, this shows you essentially all of Drupal's entities, content entities. And content, it's a bit confusing when you say content entities and then content and things like that. But essentially, a content entity is any of the pages, users, anything that's stored in the database and that has integration with the views module will appear here. So in this case, we want to query our content and we want to only show the project type. And then you can also define a sort, but you can configure that later on. And then below view settings, you have page settings. You can set a block, but we don't need it in this case. So let's configure a page. And then what you can do is switch on create a page, page title, the path, and let's change the display format to table. And we'll leave everything as it is. Now, one commenter on YouTube did correctly say, I think you can't change the machine name. That is correct. So apologies when I said you can change everything on this page. Incorrect. Well, technically you can change it right now, but as soon as you create the view, this machine name can't be changed. So just be aware of that. There are workarounds. What you could do is just duplicate it and change the machine name to whatever you want if you really want to change the machine name. But no, you are absolutely correct. Thank you for bringing that up. This machine name cannot be changed. The label can be changed, but the machine name cannot be changed once you create the view. You can come along in here and change it. Once you've configured everything, click on Save and Edit. And if this is the first time you're seeing a Views interface, well, you're in for a treat because the interface is a bit full on at first. And if you click on Advanced, you have even more options on the side here. And you can also create a bunch of displays. So essentially a view can have multiple displays, and we'll touch on that later on. But for now, we have our page display. And let's go ahead and scroll down because we've already selected table. So that's how the content will be displayed. If we scroll further down into the previous section, we can see our table with a single field, which is title, and that's been added by default. And what I'd like to do is just to click on save. Let's make sure everything is saved. And let's start adding in the fields. So we have queried our content, and now we want to select which fields are going to be displayed in our view. Now, of course, we can only select the fields which are on those entity types. So if I click on Add, let's search for ID because every project management tool needs some type of ID. Let's chuck that in. And let's click on Add again. And what I'll do is I'll search for status, and there is project status. And you can keep adding in fields. So I've checked it, and I'll also search for content. And you want to make sure that you select your field, which is under the category of content, because there is also content revision. You will notice that you have multiple categories, content and content revision. Content is the published revision essentially. So the main piece of content. So if you have revisions turned off, you always want to select the fields from the content category. But if you want to display revisioned content, so kind of like older content, especially if you're heavily using revisions, then you want to select the field from content revision. But 9 times out of 10, just select it if the category is under content. And I've just added the label for the field as content, which is also confusing as well because there's a lot of content entities, content field name, content category. Apologies for that. And then you have content revision. Yeah, the word content gets used a lot. All right, let's add in that field. And let's select formatter trimmed, and I'll set it to 100. And I'll click on apply. And because I also selected project status, I can configure this, but let's just leave the formatter as it is. So what do we have? Title, ID, content, project status, and the last two will be tags and operations. The operations link so that we can edit and clone and delete things. So operations link, that's fine. And let's unlink so it's not, so the tags isn't a linkable label. And to reorder the fields, just click on reorder next to fields and then move what ID to the top, title, status, content, and tags, and then operations links right down the back. And if we scroll right down to the bottom, we can see what our table will look like. Great. All right, awesome. So click on save. And if we open up a new tab and go to /projects, because remember here in the middle under page settings, we have the path, which is projects. If we click on that, we now can see our table. Of course, it's displayed on the front end, but we need to now display it on the back end. And the way we do that is by just, first of all, changing the path. So I'll open up content under another tab, and you'll see that we have this path, admin/content/ and we want this to then be /projects. So what we can do is we can change this to be admin/content and then /projects. And then here you have administration theme, and that's set to yes, pretty much. And for the tab to actually appear, and this is important, we need to set the menu. So click on no menu, then click on menu tab, and we'll call this one projects. And under parents, you want to select administration. Then click on apply. Then click on save. And now if we refresh, well, this will no longer work because we need to go to content and we should see projects. There you go. If you can't see the tab, clear your cache. You may have to clear your Drupal site cache because sometimes Drupal can be a bit aggressive with the caching. And to clear the cache, you can go to configuration, development, performance, and then just click on clear all caches. Or if you're running Drush CR, let me show you. Well, let me close that off. So then it's just ddev, because I'm using ddev as my local development environment. Drush CR, it's going to clear it. But if you are making custom admin pages for your Drupal site, you should know how to clear your Drupal cache. It is one of the first things you learn with Drupal, because that fixes 90% of the problems in Drupal. Seriously, it does. 99.9% of the problems in Drupal. Now, there's one thing to be aware of, especially if you are creating admin pages that will have published and unpublished content. Make sure you lock down the page. Let me show you, okay? If we come back to our view, you'll see under access, you have permission, then you have view published content. View published content permission is given to anonymous users. So that's kind of a standard for Drupal. Most of your anonymous users will have access to view published content. So if I come along in here, grab this URL, open up incognito, so I'm not logged in, what do you think is going to happen? You can access the page. This is a security vulnerability for your site, because if you have private information that shouldn't be published because for some reason, it needs to go be vetted, or you pretty much don't want people to have access to your admin pages. That's what I'm trying to say. You want to make sure that you lock down this page and test it and be 100% sure it is locked down. So all we need to do is come back in here, go to views, and if you click on permission, you do have a few ways to lock things down. The most common way is permission. You can specify a role. I don't generally like to specify roles because it makes it harder in the future if you want to allow then another role access to it. Because what happens is, let's say you have 20 editors and they all have a specific role. Then what happens is, if you want to change which role is used to access the page, then you need to go through all those 20 editors and modify their role. If you create a permission, all you need to do is then assign that permission to any number of roles, and all those roles can get access to it. So it's always best to work with permission. And in the past, I've also created just a custom permission called access custom backend page or something like that. And then you can easily just assign that to a role. Now, Drupal CMS adds this in. Scheduled content access. This must be part of the scheduled content or the scheduler module. And of course, you do not want to set it to unrestricted at all. I would say ever. Well, yeah, you never want to set it to unrestricted. I'm just trying to think of a use case. Maybe people do have a use case for a reason to set it to unrestricted. I wouldn't. So I will leave it set to permission. And now your question is, well, which permission do you give it? And that really depends on your site, like what your editors have access to and things like that. Now, what I like to do is I like to give my editors access to this access the content overview page, because this specific permission is for the content admin page. So if they have access to this content admin page, then chances are they should have access to projects. But again, it just depends on your site and how things are set up. So if we come along in here, click on apply, click on save, copy this, open up incognito again. Now we're going to get a login. So we have locked down the actual page. So I highly recommend that you make sure and double check that you've locked down your page, because it's very easy to just accidentally miss this. And you won't notice it until somebody says, oh, by the way, do you know that one of your pages is available if you're not logged in? So yeah, be very, very careful with that. All right, so at this point, we have a working page. Well, we do. We have a table. We've added it to our menu system. It's looking good. It's accessible with our editors who have access the content overview page. I believe that's it. What is it? Access the content overview page. Yes, it is. There we go. Yeah, I got it right the first time. Hey. Now what I want to do is show you how to set up filter criteria. Because an admin page is pretty much useless if it just lists out content. The whole point of an admin page is to filter content, obviously. So what I want to do is show you how to set up filters. So under filter criteria, you can define how you want to filter your content. But these filters can be exposed to users, and then they can modify and filter things themselves. So let's go ahead and click on add, and I'll search for ID, because you may want to search for your project by ID. And most importantly, you want to expose this filter to visitors. And the operator should be equals to, which is correct because you just want an ID, like a NID equals and then the number. Let's also search for title. Let's expose it and let's set the operator this time to contains. The other option would be project status, because this is a vocabulary. Make sure you select project status and let's give it a drop down and expose it. We'll also change the label so we have a bit more space. Click on add, and the last one will be tags. Make that an autocomplete and we're done. Well, make it exposed and apply. All right, perfect. Click on save. Then if we refresh right here, we should see a nice set of filters. So if we search for 42, we have, we can now filter by project. We can also filter by, I'll put in this title right here. Let's bring up a few more. All right. Search for this, and you can see that it's doing a contains, which is correct. We can also search and see all the projects which are set to do. And lastly, we can search by our tags. Now, if you are building a pretty big type of Drupal site, you can incorporate search as well. That I really didn't want to cover it for this video because it involves a lot more configuration, but you can set up search API where you're indexing your content and viewing it, and also the core search module as well. You can implement things like that. But there are a few options we can do for our expose filter. So if we go back to our view and go to advanced, and then under exposed form, you have a few options here. So the first one is you can actually display the exposed filter as a separate block. So it's not above the view. And this is useful if you have different regions, especially if you're utilizing the view on the front end. You may want to have it displayed on the side or something like that. It depends. There are good reasons on making it available as a block. Then if you click on exposed form style, you have two options, basic and input required. Now, at first you're thinking, what is the difference? Well, basic is the default functionality. So what we see right here is basic, meaning that if we remove these parameters, come to the view, we see like a default listing of the content. And then we can go ahead and filter it. Input required. So let's set input required and click on save and refresh. This requires input to see the listing first. And you can see here, there's a message right here. Select any filter and click on apply to see the results. So your input is required to see the results. I personally have never used this feature before. No client has asked for it. I can see use for it, and I'm sure somebody in the comments is going to say, oh, well, I use this, I build my views out like this on every Drupal project. And there might be a reason for that, but in my experience, I've never ever used this feature where the user has to submit first before they see the content. Now, I'm sure there's a reason you may want to put it, because even if you wanted to have a separate, if you wanted to have the exposed form on a separate page first, you could turn this on. So where is it? Expose form in block, put that on a separate page, have people then fill out that form and then just simply redirects you to the view. You can do that. There's always workarounds around it, but it's there. Let's set it to basic. And let's just click on apply. But if we go back into settings, you do have a few options here. You can add a label for the sort by, so you can filter by your sorts. And then you can also put in a reset button, and you can also change the apply button. Scroll down, click on save. And if we refresh and search for something, well, they all have project in there. We get now a reset, which is good. It's a useful feature. It is a useful feature. If we come back to our view, we do have sort. Now, the sort criteria allows you to sort your list, hence the name sort criteria. And what we can do is we can hard code the sort. So this will sort by authored on date. So that's the date. There is authored by and authored on. I always get confused. I know the difference, but I always put in the wrong one. So authored on is the actual day it was created. Authored by is the user who created the content. So let's go ahead and expose it. And we'll also expose, what is it? ID. And click on add. We'll leave it as it is. And now if we refresh, we do have author on and ID. So we could sort it by the actual ID, and we can sort it ascending and descending. And just like that, it has been sorted out. No pun intended. There you go. There you go. There are other options you can do when it comes to the table. You can click on settings and you can define a default sort and you can make things sortable, but that does override the sort functionality to a certain extent. So you may want to have a bit of a play with it and just test and see how that works. Now, a lot of your time is spent configuring the filter and sort criteria, but there is one module that I do recommend if you are going to make heavy use of filtering, and that is called Better Exposed Filters. Now, this module I've used a lot. I use it pretty much on every single Drupal site, and it just makes your exposed filters better. Hence the name Better Exposed Filter. And there's a lot of installs. Well, let's go ahead and look. I always like to see the sites reported to see how's it tracking. Oh, okay, that's not bad actually. Interesting. So it is growing. It is growing. That is very interesting. Normally you see kind of a peak with some projects from like 2016. It's the 2016 drop. If you take a look at a lot of the big modules from 2016, that's when Drupal peaked. Let's be honest. But no, Drupal's on a, is gonna grow thanks to Drupal AI and Drupal CMS. But no, this is good. Kind of plateaued, but it is slightly growing. Better Exposed Filters comes with Drupal CMS, so we don't have to download it. But if you are implementing this on your own Drupal site, make sure you grab the correct version. You can see that better exposed filters for Drupal up to Drupal 10. You need to use version 6 and version 7 for Drupal 11 and above. So what I'll do is I'll come along in here and click on extend. And let's search for better. And click on better exposed filters and install it. All right, so we've got one comment. Dude, your channel next to Drupal at your fingertips is the holy grail. I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so now at this point, we have installed better exposed filters. And all we need to do is come back to our view, refresh, well, not that. Why does it always do that? Refresh, go to advanced. And if we click on basic, we should see better exposed filters. Click on apply. And now we do get a lot more options. So you have things such as enable auto submit. And if you scroll further down, you have a few advanced sort options. And then from exposed filter settings, you can configure a few extra things. You can change the widget. Now, this is the big thing, okay? If we click on, say, tags, you can use Tagify. Now, Tagify is a new autocomplete module, which is part of Drupal CMS, and you can use it in Drupal core as well. But it gives you a nice UI for it, a nice autocomplete UI. So let's apply that. And under advanced, you can have a few more options here as well. You can also change the options, I believe. I haven't used this feature, but you can rewrite the text display. That's very useful. And if we click on project status, we can also now change it to checkboxes and radio buttons, which you can't do with standard Drupal. Okay, so let's just change it to checkboxes and radio buttons. And let's click on apply. Now you will get errors. Don't worry, this sometimes happens. It's Drupal. You get an error. Yeah, things work themselves out. But for our checkboxes to work, we need to change this to, no, not that one. What is it? Yeah, click here. We need to set it to allow multiple selections. Then click on apply, click on save. And now if we refresh right here, we will see checkboxes. So we can show all of the to-dos, which is great. And if we search for a tag, we can see a tag, and we search for another tag, we can then filter by those tags. You will have to kind of style this form, exposed form, but it's there. It's getting there. It's getting close. Oh, I've got another great comment. Oh, love your videos. Very informative. Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Keep watching. Keep watching. I do enjoy making them. Sometimes tough to come up with ideas every week, but getting there. Slowly getting there. Getting there. We have some good comments tonight, which is great. Love it. All right. So as I mentioned, if you are going to use expose filters a lot in your Drupal site, then you want to install better expose filters because it really does give you a lot more flexibility with your filters. And you can create some pretty powerful like filtering and facets, which you would normally need the facet module and search API. And you can actually probably create some pretty decent ones out of the box using just better exposed filters. All right, so we have a comment. Is there a way to separate the sorting exposed filter from the rest? You probably can with custom code. That's the only way I could really think of it. You could do it from the front end if you want to really do it. There might be a module. I haven't personally done it. There might be a custom. There might be a contrib module that does it for you. But yeah, you will have to probably write a bit of custom code for that. I'm not aware of anything inside of Drupal that allows you to do it. yourself. Let's go back to our view and let's look at the middle section, and that is the header, footer, and results behavior. All right, so we have another comment. Would like to see a tutorial on conditional fields with Ajax in the future. Conditional fields with Ajax. Yeah, that's a, I think how you'll do that. You could use states. Forms in Drupal are, I don't know if you used the form API in the past, but yeah, the form API is has been around for a long time. And I think they're now trying to upgrade that, but nobody wants to touch it because it's such a beast of a subsystem. You could use conditional fields. There is a conditional fields module if you want to add that conditional logic to content types. Yeah, I'm not sure. But no, thanks for the tip. That's interesting. From the header and footer section, let's add in a summary so we can see exactly how many items there are on the page. And that's actually relatively easy to do. So if you click on add next to header and search for summary, you should see result summary. And you do have a few tokens here. They can use start, end, total, label, per page, current, page, so on and so forth. And this is actually pretty cool default, which is display start dash end of total. And I also like to add that to the footer as well. So we can search for results and add that in. And if we click on save and, well, let's reset that and refresh, we should see our results up the top here. Display 1 of 10 of 50. There you go. You can see just how easy it is to create these admin pages. And this is one thing I love about Drupal as well, and just using it as kind of like a content framework, because Drupal has always had this problem about, is it a framework or is it a product? I think now with Drupal CMS, things have kind of been, I'll say, sorted out on that side, because I feel like Drupal CMS is the product, Drupal core is the framework. But when you compare this to other, say, PHP frameworks, you get a lot more out of the box with Drupal core than, say, with like Symfony or Laravel or like Ruby on Rails. Like, I know they can generate their own backends. I think the last time I looked at Rails, I think it can generate backends. The last time I played around with Symfony, I think version 1, you could generate backends. But yeah, just to be able to do this without writing any custom code is a pretty powerful feature. And you can kind of see that you slowly just add and build things together. Of course, the annoying thing about Drupal, and I am ranting now, the annoying thing about Drupal is that if you don't know what views is, then you don't know how to build these pages. And that's Drupal's problem. Getting to know which subsystem to use to build it in the beginning is the hard part. Once you understand that, then you're like, well, actually, I can use then views to build out this, 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 and this. And then things start to click. And then all of a sudden you're like, Drupal's amazing. But to get to that point takes a while, and we often lose people along the way because it is a very hard system to learn sometimes. Anyway, rant over. Oh, thank you for that. Hello to the best Drupal teacher. Oh, I wouldn't say I'm the best. I'm one. Trust me, I'm still learning. I'm still learning. This is kind of like my little cheat way. Believe it or not, I learn more. I actually personally learn a lot by doing these videos. That's why I do these videos. And that's why I started off writing tutorials, because it forces me to learn about Drupal. So when I come up with ideas to do videos about something, I more often than not have to figure things out and learn things. A lot of the times I can just go off my experience. Like a lot of this stuff I know how to do, you know, blindfolded. But there are certain subsystems of Drupal where I'm like, I have no idea, and I want to learn it. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I can do a video on it, and then it kind of gets me into the process of learning it. And then sometimes I get things wrong, and people tell me in the comments, "Oh, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it this way," or even after the fact, they tell me I'm wrong. But no, I always love it. I actually mentioned this to a friend recently that if you post something online, people will tell you when you're wrong. But if you ask a question about that topic, most people will just ignore it. So if you jump on any type of forum tool, like some type of forum website, and ask them, something about Drupal, a question about Drupal, yeah, you might get an answer, or you might just be fully ignored. But if you write a tutorial or do a video about that topic and it is slightly wrong, people will tell you when you're wrong. So if you want to get the answer straight away, just post some information about it. You don't have to be right. I wouldn't recommend you be totally wrong about it, but what I'm saying is just post it, and then people will tell you if you're right or wrong. There you go. End of rant. Okay, so adding in a summary, as you've seen, is pretty easy, okay? It's pretty easy. Now, if we come back here, we have the results, the no results behavior. So this is a bit of text that gets displayed if nothing is returned when you're filtering, or if there's no content to be displayed. That's probably the better way of saying it. So if there's no content to be displayed, and that can be because there are no projects, or because you've filtered for something and just nothing appears. What you can do is you can add in something such as text area. Select that. And we'll call this one no results returned. Yeah. Click on apply. Click on save. And okay, we don't see that message, but if we search for something, we'll then see no results returned. And you can add in a link and tell them, go here, go there, do whatever you want. Now, another feature, which is very useful, is having a link here to actually create a project. How would you do that? Well, there's a few ways, okay? The simplest way is coming along in here, and you could just click on add, search for a text area. So let's add in a text area, and I do believe we can add a link. Can we add a link here? I'm just trying to have a quick look. Oh, yes, we can. Okay, we can add a link. But I'm not sure if we can add a... Well, no, let's not use that. Where is it? Remove. Click on add. We'll search for unfiltered. So what we can do is href, and we'll call it node add project. And we'll add in a class of button just so that it actually looks nice. And we'll call this one create project. And click on apply. And if we scroll down, you'll see that it goes next to displaying the results. And let's just add in a break tag. See, we are writing a bit of code, unfortunately. And we've got a little create project, and we can go ahead and create a project, okay? That gets the job done. Is it the best solution? No, it's not, but it gets the job done. And in the past, I've done this, okay? It works well. There are a few problems with this. There is no access control to make sure that me as the user actually can create this project. So you may have one admin page which is shared across multiple roles, and some people may have access to certain things. And it's always good to only give users access to buttons that they have access to. So you don't want users to always be bombarded with like an access denied or something like that. So the next module that I recommend that you look at is using is to use this module called Add Content by Bundle Views Area Plugin. Essentially what this does is that this gives you a a views plugin where you can specify a button, and you can do extra things such as pass in arguments, and it also integrates with the form mode control. So you can create a form mode, which is like a display mode where you contextually group field widgets. So you can have essentially different types of forms for projects where you might have a simple version or a advanced version where it displays more fields or less fields, and you can control all of that. This module comes with Drupal CMS, so you don't have to install it yourself. You can you don't have to download it. It comes with Drupal CMS, but of course, if you're using Drupal core, you will have to download it yourself. So let's go ahead and install it. What's it called? Add content by bundle. Give that a moment. And if we come back here, let's remove our custom button, and you should see add content by bundle link. And then we can select our bundle, which is project. Let's call this one create project, and then the class is button. Now the target is the interesting part. You have default, which will take you to the form. Then you have modal dialog. And this actually displays a nice little modal pop-up. So if we click on apply, don't worry about this, oops. Click on save. And if we refresh here, okay, we need to add a break tag. So we need to possibly add it to our summary here. Okay, there we go. There we go. And now if we click on create project, it gets displayed in a modal. And this is actually a nice interface, because you can imagine if you were to create like a SaaS application using Drupal, using a bunch of custom views and this module, you can create some pretty useful UI for it. So you can come along in here, new project, my new project, and I'll call this one, what is it to do? And click on save. And there you go. You've created a new project. Now you have this other option, which is off-screen tray. This is the tray for layout builder, but it does have a styling issue. So if we click on here and click on create project, it will display it on the side here. So you may have to, you're going to have to style it a little bit. Doesn't look the best, but it's there. It is there as an option. I personally like the modal pop-up. I think the modal pop-up looks absolutely great. And I like it. And then you can pass in your additional parameters, and yeah, I think it looks pretty good. And then we'll come along in here, click on create project, and there you go. Look at that. Look at that. Now, if we scroll all the way down, we have a pager. Every admin page has a pager. And of course, in views, you can modify it. So if we go back to projects and then scroll down all the way to the bottom part of the middle section, you do have a pager section. And if you click on mini, you have a few options. You have page output, mini pager, full pager, display all items, which I wouldn't recommend because you can bring down a page essentially, or bring down your site if you have thousands and thousands of content. And then you have display a specified number of items. I mostly use this when I display content through a block where you only want to display the top 5. But most of the time I would use full pager. So click on apply. And you can control a few things such as number of items, the offset. That's more of a really advanced item option. And you can change the labels. But then further down, you do have exposed options. And this is where you can allow users to control how many items per page is returned. So if we set that, and then click on save. Here on the right, we have the ability to change or display how many items per page, set it to 25. And then right down at the bottom, we can just go through all the pages. We can set that back to 5 if you want. And of course, you can see we're only displaying the top 5. So that's a nice bit of functionality that you can give your editors, the ability to control the amount of items per page. Now, an admin page would not be complete without the ability to bulk update content. So how do you do that? Well, there are a few ways. Of course, in Drupal, there's always multiple ways. Now, the first and simple way is to use what comes with Drupal core. So if we click on add in the field section and search for node, you will see node operations bulk form. So if we add this, it gives us a few actions. Now, Drupal does have this plugin system called actions where it's just some type of action. And a lot of modules do ship these actions. And you have things such as delete content, make sticky, unsticky, promote to front page, publish, save, so on and so forth. And you can add this to your view, and it just adds a checkbox. So here you'll see on the right-hand side a checkbox, and you can scroll all the way up, reorder it. You want to move that often to the front. Click on save. And if we reset, we have a few options. And I hope you can see in the video right down at the bottom here, we have the ability to select the item and we can publish or unpublish it. Now, the concept of publishing and unpublishing in this example doesn't really work because we don't really care if the content's published or unpublished because it's just a project content. But one thing I would like to set up is the ability to update field values. Now, unfortunately, you can't do that using this node bulk operations. What you need to do is use two modules. So the first one would be views bulk operations. You want to install this module no matter what, because it just gives you a lot more functionality when it comes to bulk updating content, such as rearranging the options here. Okay, you can rearrange them, you can rename them, you can even then run the bulk operations as a batch so that things don't time out. You just have a lot more functionality. And then on top of that, you do have this great module which integrates with VBO or views bulk operation called views bulk update, which allows you to then modify content and bulk update content. So you first want to go ahead and download VBO or views bulk operation. And then you have views bulk edit. You also want to download that as well. And if you go to extend and search for views bulk operations and also views bulk edit and install both of them. And once it's installed, we can refresh. Let's remove this node bulk operations. And let's search for views. and we should see views bulk operations. Great. Click on add and configure, and you'll straight away see we do have a lot more options, a lot more. You can reorder the actions, which is great. But most importantly, we want modify field values. You can change the label, and you can also add in a confirmation step, but there is already a confirmation step where you have to select your fields. And click on apply, and we'll move this up the top. So views bulk operations is right at the top, and click on save. All right, let's refresh. We should see a checkbox, which is great. And then if we select a few items, we should see, let me make sure I can see that in the feed. So you can kind of see that my image is covering. Let me just switch over. I'll move to the left-hand side with the power and magic of editing. Oh, look at that. Look at that. I'm now on the left-hand side. So you can see you do have this one button, which is applied to selected items, but I'll switch myself back because now I'm covering the 3 items selected. Well, that's annoying. So just remember, you have that applied to selected items behind my face. But most importantly, if you click on all of them, you'll select the 10 on the page. But what you can do is click on this right down at the bottom, which is select all results. So this will then select all the 51 items. So everything, and then apply the change. So this is a good thing or a bad thing. Your editors can really stuff up the content if they just select all and then just make one change. So you may or may not want to allow it. I have in the past turned this off because I've had editors break sites because they just go in there and just do bulk updates and things like that. But let's go ahead and set these these 3 to complete. What we can do is come along in here, select modify field values. You can also view what's been selected and then click on apply. Then you can click on, where is it, project status? And let's set this to, what is it, completed? And we can also add in a nice revision message. Bulk update to complete. And click on apply. I'm going to go ahead and update it. Now our top 3 have been bulk updated. And we can even go all the way. Let's actually do it. Select all. Click on apply. And let's change this to, say, to do. And it's going to use the batch API. Oh, that was actually pretty quick. So you can imagine if you have like thousands and thousands of content, come along in here and update it for us. So I would highly recommend always install views bulk operation. I always have it installed. Views bulk operation, views bulk edits, better expose filters. All of these modules I have always installed on my site. All right, so we have another comment. Ah, yes. Thursday surprise. Yes, normally I do my live streams on a Friday. That is correct, but I won't be available tomorrow to do my live stream, so I thought I'd do it one day earlier because I want to stick to the one live stream a week. So occasionally I do them on Thursdays. But I think next week I will be back to Fridays. I do like them on Fridays because it gives me one extra day to prepare. Because, I always prepare weeks in advance. No, I don't. Sometimes it's like the 2 days beforehand, or like on a Wednesday, I'm like, what am I going to talk about? Oh, yeah. Fun. So if we take a look at our view right now, we have We have created the page, added the menu, added expose filters, added bulk updating, added a summary, added a create project link. We have created a lot. And the only bit of custom code that we've added is a break tag. And that is it. All right. Another comment. I recently discovered your channel. You already helped me a lot. Thank you. Been watching your videos. Oh, well, yeah. The videos are always available after the fact. So even if you can't make it live to watch the live stream, that's okay. But I do love, like, trust me, last week, there wasn't as much discussion and comments. So I do like it when people do chat to me because it feels like there's a slight there that there's like a little community, that people actually watch my videos. Because sometimes it can feel like you're in this, alone doing these videos when you just post them onto YouTube because you get the occasional comment, but it's always great. But yeah, join. It will be next Friday. That's when it will be normally. So before we finish up, let's just now put everything that we have learned together and create an admin page for our tasks. Because if we rewind all the way to the beginning, if we take a look at our project, so let's open up a project. Okay. This project just has a basic title, content, tags, and status. But we do have a task content type. And if we click on that, we have a title, content, tags. Then we have the task referencing the project. So you can imagine a project has multiple tasks. Obviously, that's how project management tools work. So now what I want to do is create an admin page, and we're going to smash through this pretty quickly because there's no point because we're essentially just going to recreate what we've done, but we're just going to create it for tasks. Okay. So let's close a few of these tabs. And what we can do is let's go back to our view. Now, when you are creating multiple views, you have to ask yourself, can I create this view or this page in this view as a new display? Because a view can have multiple pages or multiple displays. Or the other option is you may want to just duplicate it and then create a separate view as well. There is no right or wrong answer. Some people prefer to have everything nicely packed into a single view and then multiple displays, especially if the pages relate to each other. So you may want to have, say, a project's page display for a project which is displayed for projects which are displayed on the back end, on the front end, or like a listing or like a my projects. You may want to group all of those together. But in this case, we can merge tasks and projects into a single view. And the reason why I want to do that is because I also want to show you how you can share configuration between your displays. So as I just mentioned, a view can have multiple displays. So you don't have to create a separate view if you want to display your projects as a block or as a table or as a page. So if we click on add and then click on page again, you will get a display called page 2. Let's change this so that it's somewhat useful. We'll change this one to tasks. And we'll change this page to, what is it, projects? Not problems, projects. And if you go to advanced on the right-hand side, you can change the machine name. And this machine name can be changed. But if you are referencing this machine name and you go ahead and change it, you're going to have problems. But we could call this one projects. And then if we go to tasks, we can call this one tasks. And then if you scroll down, you will see that it's complaining about things, okay? So let's now fix up the path. So we'll call this one, what is it? Admin content tasks. And we'll also add in a menu item. So tasks. administration. And if we click on save, and then if we go to content, we should see projects and we should see tasks. Okay, great. All right, that's step one. Now our access is still access the content overview page, which is great. Okay, that's great. But one thing to be aware of is that if we come along in here and we change this to say administer content, and we go to projects, it's going to change it also on administer projects. Oh, sorry, it's going to change it on projects as well. And it's going to set it to, administer content. So a lot of the configuration between displays are shared by default. Now, this is great if you have multiple displays and you just want to modify one or two options out of 20 options, okay? But if you want to override a configuration for a specific display, what you need to do, you should see this for dropdown, and then you can specify, okay, is it for all displays or is it for this page? So in this case, we actually want to keep this all consistent. So if we set it back to access the content overview page, then go to tasks, you'll see that it's changed also on tasks. But let's go ahead and modify the filter criteria. You first of all want to make sure that you are on tasks. And then if you click on any of these and then just go this page and click on then apply, you'll see that now it's italics. And that means that you are overriding it for this particular display. And I do know that our tasks has pretty much all the same fields except for project status. We'll remove that. And also we'll add in a filter. Well, we'll update this content type so that it is set to tasks. So now if we come to tasks, it should display the actual tasks, which is great. Let's change the title. Come along in here. Again, we can override it. Very important. You want to override it. We'll change this one to tasks. And we'll also override the fields. And let's remove project. We'll also add in is complete, because I do know that there is an is complete. And we'll add a little check. Let's move this is complete all the way to the top. And I do think that is it. Now, one thing to be aware of is that it is very easy, and this has happened to me many times, where I've come along in here and I'm thinking and I think I'm on just this one particular display, and I go ahead and make a change, and then it changes a whole bunch of other views. And it's happened to me so many times where when that happens, I sometimes have to just re-import the config, blow away what I've done and start again because you've just made too many changes. So yeah, just be aware of that. And if we come along in here, let's also update this option as well. Let's override it. Let's set it to task, and we'll call this one task. And we can click on apply. There we go. Look at that. And if we refresh, we should see everything to be tasks. And if we click on here, it should open up the task, the create task form. Great. And you can just see how easy now it was for us to create an extra admin page just by creating a display. Now, from the right-hand side, you can duplicate displays, you can delete them, and also you can duplicate them as a block, or you can disable them as well. Then up the top here, this is the view. You can analyze a view, you can duplicate it, you can reorder the displays, and also you can delete the view. So you do have a few options up the top here. Now, if you click on advanced, you can add in some advanced items, of course. A common one is custom CSS classes. Sometimes you may want to chuck them in if you want to modify a few things. The other option is to use Ajax. So you can click on Ajax here, and you can either set it for all the views. Again, you want to be careful. Do you want to set it for all the views or a single view? If we switch this on, it'll be for all the displays. That's been saved. And now if we search for, say, 71, which is the first task, it should do it through Ajax. There you go. And we can go ahead and select all of them. Let's see if this actually works, eh? Click on apply. Whoa, no. Oh, what happened there? Oh, maybe it's Ajax. Maybe it doesn't have Ajax support. That's interesting. Let's go back here. Let's switch this off. Okay, let's try this again. Let's go, select all, modify, apply. Oh, there you go, there you go. Views bulk operation doesn't like the Ajax. That's right. And we can set it to is complete, and let's just complete all of them. All tasks done. That's it, 200 odd tasks done. If only it was that easy, eh? And there you go. There you go. Nice and simple. So if you've created your backend page, and you want to create another one, then just take a look at potentially creating another display, and you can save yourself so much effort just by creating an extra display, because you don't have to recreate everything from scratch. And then, yeah, this one is no results returned. So it is pretty generic. Well, there you go. All right, so that is it from me. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more about Drupal, just head over to webwash.net. If you want to learn more about Drupal and you want to check out the other videos, just go to the Webwash YouTube channel, click on live and view all the other videos. If you have any comments, please leave them below the video and I'll do my best to help you out. Anyway, thank you so much for coming, and I'll catch you all next time. All right, now it's time for the post show. All right. Would it be possible to modify using Twig? Well, yes, absolutely. You can use, you can always use Twig. Well, thank you. No, you can always use Twig to modify your views. So if you go to appearance, no, not appearance, configuration, development, and what is it? Twig debugging. And go right click view source. All you need to do is, of course, go ahead and modify these Twig templates. The other option you can do, depending what you want to modify, you can modify stuff through here. So if we were to go, say, title, rewrite results, rewrite the output, you can put in Twig code in here. And you can modify things. So you can put if statements in here, like Twig if statements, and modify things. So again, depends what you want to modify, also at what level as well. Well, no, thank you all for joining. Thank you all for joining. It was fun. Oh, I still have my coffee. But this gin theme is actually pretty. It's very SaaS-like, software as a service look and feel. Yeah, stuff's very, very nice. I would like to play around with the the different form modes with that add content bundle. Anyway, well, hope everyone has a great weekend. Oh yeah, I still have Friday tomorrow. Oh, forgot. Normally I do it normally I'm doing these on Friday night, so the next day for me is the weekend, but not tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. I used to do my live streams on Thursdays. Then I don't know why I changed. Anyway. All right. Well, thank you all for joining. I had a real fun time. I hope you all learned something. Oh, I need to have better posture. I can see myself hunched over the mic. Oh, I need better posture. Anyway. Hope everyone has a great weekend. I'll catch you all next weekend. Well, no, not next week. Next week, sorry. All right. Take care.